Hello, everyone. A very logical day to all of you. And yes, yesterday I was not able to do this recording. So we are taking the 26th January Indian Express first editorial discussion today. So let us see, because it was a Republic Day, then definitely somebody had written about this constitution and all. So the editorial talks about the matter between the judiciary and the executive. If you remember, we had discussed this article, not exactly this article, this topic we had discussed in a few days in an editorial that appeared a few days back in the newspaper. So you will feel related to that article. कुछ याद आ जाएगा कि हाँ, this is what we had discussed. And yes, today's article, we have found a few extra shots also. So I'll be giving that later, as we'll do with the reading first, then discussion of the main idea. Along with the reading we are going to extract the central idea, that is, then the discussion of it. And then, of course, vocabulary. And yes, today there are many words related to the topic of the constitution and and politics and executive and all, right? And then, of course, I've got a two or three extra shots for you. Let's see now here. So 26 January, Indian Express, the editorial is Holy Book North Star. Now, just by the heading, you will not be able to understand what is Holy Book North Star, what is the editorial about, right? This is not reflected from the words. But if you have read it, okay, if you have heard the news, who called what a holy book or who called what a North Star, then you will get a hint of it. So let's come with the reading part. So every Republic Day brings an important reminder for we, the people, of the rules for both the government and the governed, and of the shared commitment to follow them. So this is what the author is mainly saying, that there's a shared commitment to follow them. Today, Republic Day is a commemoration of the quiet framework that holds a noisy, sprawling, and diverse democracy up and together. That framework, this constitution, which Prime Minister Narendra Modi called the Holy Book and whose basic structure Chief Justice of India D.Y. Chandrachud more recently described as the North Star that guides, embodies, most of all, the need and necessity of power to be humble. Now, see, we get to know now who called. So, Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi called Constitution the Holy Book, and the Chief Justice of India, Mr. D.Y. Chandrachud, called the Constitution as the basic structure of the Constitution as the North Star, that is the guiding star. Now, in a constitutional democracy that comes from the author's viewpoint, it dare not be unbridled or act in arbitrary ways. It must be accountable and circumscribed by the checks applied by countervailing institutions. It must not transgress individual freedoms. It should not be an end unto itself, but constantly in service of a shared purpose and larger goals. As the nation celebrates this Republic Day, then it must take a step back from the unpleasantries currently being exchanged between the government and the court over the basic structure and the collegium. This is a moment instead to recall the founding pact and to acknowledge the marvelous balance of its intricate mosaic. मतलब किस तरीके से वो constitution बना क्या है? Let us throw a little light on that. This is what the author is saying. So he started with the relevance of the Republic Day. He says that, see, this is a time where we can think of, or the government and the governed should come up with a balance. He says the need and necessity for power to be humble. This is what is being said in the first part of the paragraph. What the second part states here is what this should not be. कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल डेमोक्रेसी है, पीपल से रिलेटेड है, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन भी है, राइट? बट व्हाट द democracy should not be is arbitrary, unbridled. That means without any constraint, without any restraint, without any limitation. Unbridled word हम कुछ दिन पहले कर चुके हैं. You can go back to the notes. Arbitrary ways, arbitrary यानी मेरा जो मन किया मैंने कहा मैंने किया. So that is like being very individualistic, being arbitrary in your manners. राइट? तो ऐसा काम कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन डेमोक्रेसी नहीं कर सकती है. It has to be accountable and circumscribed by the checks. Circumscribed, you can understand that it has to be limited there by the checks applied by the countervailing institutions. इसका मतलब जो गवर्नमेंट मन चाहे वो कर ले, ऐसा नहीं होगा. एग्जीक्यूटिव को थोड़ा सा बांध के रखना पड़ेगा, और बांध के कौन रखेगा? जो अनइलेक्टेड है, जो कि उसके काउंटरवेलिंग मींस काउंटर एक्टिंग, काउंटर बैलेंस करने वाले जो इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं, दे. It should not be an end upon itself. It must not transgress individual freedom. We can understand the meaning of the word transgress only when when individual freedom is understood. Right? So you don't need to violate the individual freedom. Then it has to be a shared purpose and larger goals. This is what we can understand from this. And so, according to the author, ab kya karna chahiye? The Constitution, the Chief Justice of India, that is the collegium, and the executive, they were sharing these unpleasantries, no? They were against going against each other. या कुछ ना कुछ तो बोल रहे थे, हमने कुछ देखा भी था, पढ़ा भी था कुछ दिन पहले. इस अनप्लेजेंटनेस को पीछे छोड़ देना चाहिए, because it is the Republic Day, and they need to acknowledge the balance that is required in this intricate mosaic. Intricate means complex thing. Now, in the run up to this Republic Day, the Constitution has increasingly looked like the bone of contention between a domineering executive and a judiciary that appears compelled to restake out its ground in changing political terrain. Appears to be मतलब ऐसे लग रहा है कि वो कंपेल्ड है, मतलब फोर्स की गई है कि अपना कुछ हक, अपना कुछ ग्राउंड आगे दे दो एग्जीक्यूटिव को. जुडिशरी से मांगा जा रहा है कुछ ऐसा which the executive seems to become dominating, controlling position, and judiciary appears to be forced by the executive to give up something. Now, but the constitution itself is resilient. Now, the author says that, see, you don't need to give away something and then the other person is forcing you to give away and the other person is taking it. वो नहीं होगा. What the author says is that the constitution itself is resilient. Resilient का मतलब होता है वो bounce back हो जाता है, जल्दी आ जाता है अपने ओरिजिनल पे. ठीक है, तो resilient मतलब like being very cheerful वैसा होता है. If you call a person resilient, comes back to the normal. So, constitution itself is resilient and capacious enough to take showdowns like these in its stride. Capacious means it has the capacity. You can relate this word with capacity. So, the constitution is like it has room enough, it has space enough, it has capacity enough to make the few changes which are brought up like this time and again. In fact, the ongoing pull and push over whether or not the parliament has the power to amend its basic structure has only brought home that the key to its endurance is its essential openness to change. Endurance मतलब कितना वो चीज सहन कर सकती है, कितना tolerate कर सकती है, कितना patient रह सकती है. That is the endurance part. So what is being said is that this is the pull and push that is going on about that matter, about the basic structure. Now, whether that basic structure can be amended, whether the parliament has the right or the power to amend the basic structure, this has only brought home means हमें realize करवाया है. Brought home that the key to its endurance is its essential openness to change. अभी हमने कहा था कि यहाँ पे वो capacious enough है, that means there is enough room. तो ऐसी काफी जगह है जो कि थोड़ी सी लूज है, which the this constitution will be ready to change. But how? That its basic features are identified so broadly is design, no coincidence. बेसिक फीचर्स आइडेंटिफाइड ब्रॉडली का मतलब होता है कि इतना एकदम बारीकी से जाके उन्होंने स्ट्रीमलाइन नहीं किया है, या दे हैव नॉट गॉन इनटू द वेरी माइन्यूट डिटेल्स एंड रिटन डाउन एवरीथिंग, डिफाइंड एवरीथिंग दैट सी दिस इज द ओनली थिंग and nothing apart from this. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. So what has been written there in the constitution has left room enough for amendments. Right? This is what the author says, and this is deliberately been done. So design का मतलब होता है planned. बाय डिजाइन होता है, मतलब यही था इनके दिमाग में, यही किया, बाय चांस नहीं हो गया. इट इज नॉट अ कोइंसिडेंस. सो इन सीजीआई चंद्रचूड़'s लिस्ट दे आर व्हाट? Supremacy of the constitution, rule of law, separation of powers, judicial review, secularism, federalism, freedom and the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. ठीक है, ये सारी चीजें उसकी बेसिक फीचर्स हैं अकॉर्डिंग टू द सीजीआई. With deliberateness and care, the founding fathers and mothers wrote an open-ended document with ample room to adopt and evolve. Ample is sufficient, right? So open-ended document है, मतलब उससे पहले ही बोला था capacious है, तो काफी रूम है उसमें अमेंडमेंट्स लाने का. जैसे हार्ड एंड फास्ट वाला कोई पॉइंट ऐसे नहीं है. दिस इज व्हाट द ऑथर सेज. With deliberateness and care, deliberate we have done a few days back also. Deliberate is to give proper thought to something. So well thought out will be the word deliberate. So carefully, if you read, if you understand, and then you can discuss and then make a few amendments instead of this pull and push. What cannot be touched? Okay. What must be protected? तो हम किस किस चीज पे अमेंडमेंट या चेंजेस नहीं ला सकेंगे, इज दैट विदाउट विच द रिपब्लिक विल फेल दोज हु आर पावरलेस. That means if the only elite class is being benefited from these changes, no. Are they violating the freedom of the poor class, or so to say the other strata of the society? No, वो नहीं होना चाहिए. ये this is what the author is saying. What cannot be touched, what must be protected is that without which the republic will fail those who are powerless, those in the minority and those who count on its promise of freedom and equality and justice the most. जिन्हें पूरा हक सुप्रीम कोर्ट से ही मिलता है, पर उनके हक पे कोई भी encroachment नहीं होना चाहिए, then the amendments can be made. The woman who wants the freedom to step out into public spaces that are enabling and safe. The student who has a right to watch a documentary on the university campus, the right to eat and dress the way you want, the liberty to choose the one you love. And when we, the people, recognize that the rights of a few are interconnected with the freedoms of all, it is the Constitution that triumphs in letter and spirit. Happy Republic Day. So this last part is giving you examples to show that, see, this is not to be touched. ठीक है, इस रास्ते पे नहीं जाना है. That is it. Right. So this is from the point of view of the author, the last paragraph completely. Second paragraph was giving you about what the Constitution is, or it already is a resilient thing, open-ended book. And the first paragraph was saying that, see, this is a Republic Day. So what the judiciary as well as the executive should settle the matters in which way. So let's see what the main ideas are. Again, I've brought tidbits from every paragraph. So first is an important reminder for the need and necessity for power to be humble. ठीक है, मतलब दोनों को झगड़ना नहीं चाहिए, पावर को हम्बल हो जाना चाहिए, जरूरी है. कॉन्स्टेंटली इन शेयर ऑफ अ लार्जर पर्पस एंड लार्जर गोल्स, इसका मतलब जुडिशरी एंड एग्जीक्यूटिव को लड़ना नहीं है. सो एग्जीक्यूटिव एंड द जुडिशरी हैव टुगेदर टू वर्क, right? Not fight against each other. So they have a common goal, a larger goal, a shared purpose, and to acknowledge this balance of the intricate mosaic. Intricate mosaic stands for the Constitution. Take showdowns like these in a stride. Now the second paragraph is actually talking about the Constitution. We can remember that, and therefore I have not written it. So Constitution can take these things in its stride. Okay. The key to its endurance is its essential openness to change. Openness to change major point ho jata hai. It is an open-ended document, again, ample room to adopt and evolve. That means the changes can be brought about, the amendments can be brought about, but with proper thought and care. Now, third paragraph was like not just a caution कि मतलब किस चीज पे ध्यान रखना चाहिए. So what cannot be touched and what must be protected is that without which the republic will fail those who are powerless. The rights of a few are interconnected with the freedom of all. It is the Constitution that triumphs in letter and spirit. ठीक है, तो एग्जीक्यूटिव को बहुत सारी चीजें कुछ बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ द उसमें चेंज करना है, पर वो नहीं होना चाहिए, राइट? एंड हियर इट इज. So that's how PM, CGI frame the Constitution. One is elected, the PM. One is not, the CGI. Both secure the Republic. दोनों चीजें जरूरी हैं रिपब्लिक को रिपब्लिक बनाए रखने के लिए. So they secure the republic, right? I hope you have understood this now. So let's come to the vocabulary part. Most of the words we have discussed while we were reading, so we'll quickly go through them now. So commemoration, you can take get the trick of com means joining or coming together, and memory, you have the word memory. So coming together or bringing someone in the memory means remembering. So commemoration मतलब in the memory of या in the remembrance of. किसी को याद रखना या करना उसमें. Sprawling, sprawling is a word which is, if you're reading novels, you'll be getting it many times. Sprawling is something that is spreading, extensive, expansive. ठीक है? Unbridled, right? Sprawling मतलब in this sense, like suppose a simple example I'll give you from the daily life. Suppose you're watching television, right? But then you came back from a say a 10-hour trekking, and then you came home and then you sit and start watching television. But when you sit on the sofa, sit on the couch, you sprawl. मतलब पूरी तरीके से पसर जाना या फैल जाना. ठीक है, फिर थक गए हो, आराम से पसर के तुमने टीवी देखी. सिंपल भाषा में ये होता है. That is sprawling. So spreading, extensive or expansive. Now you can understand this context anywhere. Unbridled, we have done this word earlier. It is uncontrolled. Bridle यानी वो होता है घोड़े पे जो लगाम लगाई जाती है ना, that is bridled. So uncontrolled, unchecked, unrestrained. Arbitrary, we did this word. Individualistic. Arbiter actually is a person who would settle the matter. Arbiter बोलते हैं उसे. Mediator, a settler, right? ER it is. Circumscribed, we have done this word circumference वाला होता है. ठीक है, scribe का मतलब होता है writing. So you're circumscribing something, that means you are defining the boundary, defining the limits of it. So you are restricting it. Countervailing, counter you can understand. So countervailing is to neutralize or something that is coming as a counterbalance. और क्योंकि न्यूट्रलाइज हो जाता है वो चीज नलिफाई भी हो जाती है. Transgress, again you have done the word trans is to go from here to there, and gress means to go, right? So you're violating. Transgress is to violate, to break the rules. Intricate mosaic. Intricate is complicated and mosaic is a mixture or an assortment. मतलब बहुत अलग 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 चीजें एक साथ है, लेकिन इन सब चीजों में जो intricate relations है इन सब के, वो complicated है. That is why it is called an intricate mosaic. If this is used for the constitution, that means there are so many things taken together, but their relation with one another would be very complex. So one thing is affecting the other, and the other thing is affecting the third thing. तो ये interrelated चीजें हो जाती हैं, तभी उसे intricate mosaic कहा गया है. Terrain में terra word आ जाता है, which is related to land. Ground हो सकता है, territory हो सकता है. Resilient, we just did. We are tough enough to bounce back. That is resilient. Capacious, you can understand this word with capacity. There is enough capacity, that means there is enough room. Here you can use the word space. काफी जगह है, मतलब काफी ऐसे मौके हैं जहां पे अमेंडमेंट्स उस कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में किए जा सकते हैं. So the constitution becomes a capacious, spacious, roomy, extensive, और एक और वर्ड आ सकता है commodious. मतलब काफी जगह होती है. Endurance, endure is um, to bear, to tolerate. और क्योंकि आप टॉलरेट करते हो तो fortitude हो जाता है, मतलब हिम्मत हो जाती है. That is the endurance part. Ample is a simple word, I know, but then suppose somebody doesn't know, so I've used this word here also again in the list. So ample is enough, sufficient. काफी होता है वो ample. There was ample time left. ठीक है, मतलब काफी. Design, design I explained there in the sentence also. दैट इट वाज बाय डिजाइन, जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में लिखा गया था वो बाय डिजाइन था, वो कोइंसिडेंस नहीं था। ठीक है, सो इट इज स्कीम समथिंग दैट इज प्लान्ड, उसे स्कीम कहते हैं ना। पॉलिसी और स्कीम हमेशा नेगेटिव हो ये जरूरी नहीं है। पॉलिसी या प्रोजेक्ट होता है मतलब कि सोच समझ के कुछ बनाना पहले से, या जिसके बेस पे कुछ बनाया जाता है, वो हो जाता है पॉलिसी। So design is well planned thing. Deliberateness is thoughtfulness. Right. This is also a word that we have done earlier. Right. Come on. Let's come to the. Let's come to the next. Just a second. Come on. Let's see the extra shots here. Here we found a few idioms, phrases. I'll show you how to use. A bone of contention था. ठीक है. So bone of contention. Another idiom that I can think of is an apple of discord. मतलब जिसकी वजह से कोई झगड़ा होता है, या झगड़े की जड़ जो होती है वो होता है डिस्प्यूट की जड़ जो होती है। सो बोन ऑफ कंटेंशन विल बी एन एप्पल ऑफ डिस्कॉर्ड, सिमिलर मीनिंग। Brought home was there in the sentence. It brought home to us when I used the word that, see, it made us realize. तो brought home या bring home the point होता है mainly. तो bring home the point का मतलब होता है that it makes us realize, or we start thinking of it. ठीक है, तो अपनी point रखना. So it brought home the point. Take showdowns like these in its stride. This was talked about, this was told for the constitution. Now understand how this phrase is used. Take something in your stride. To take something in your stride का मतलब, ठीक है, जो बोला गया है, जो चल रहा है, उसको चलते चलते ले लेना, मतलब यू टेक एवरीथिंग इन योर स्ट्राइड। ठीक है, you don't need to sit and then grumble over it, or sit and then try raising objections over it, or then you don't need to sit back and say, "Oh, now what I can do," or what can I do, वो नहीं। ठीक है, व्हाट आई कैन डू सोचना चाहिए कि अब मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ, दोनों में डिफरेंस है। व्हाट कैन आई डू मतलब अब मैं क्या करूं, और व्हाट आई कैन डू इज मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ। राइट, सो दैट इज अ डिफरेंस। सो यू टेक एवरीथिंग इन योर स्ट्राइड। सो सम पीपल आर टॉकिंग रॉन्ग अबाउट यू, फाइन, you take it in a stride and you bounce back. You are a resilient person, so you'll do something better now. So this is how it is used. Now another thing is, we talked about the holy book and the north star. Now, the framework, this constitution, which Prime Minister Narendra Modi called the Holy Book, where the Prime Minister is calling the constitution a holy book, becomes a figure of speech that is a metaphor. And when the basic structure, the Chief Justice of India, Mr. D.Y. Chandrachud, more recently described as the North Star, जब उन्होंने एज द नॉर्थ स्टार यूज किया बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर के लिए, सो द फिगर ऑफ स्पीच दैट बिकम्स हियर इज अ simile, right? So when the Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, calls the Constitution the holy book, directly बोल दिया Constitution को holy book, that becomes a metaphor. Chief Justice of India, Mr. D.Y. Chandrachud ने कहा, बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन को उन्होंने नाम दिया, इट इज एज द नॉर्थ स्टार, जो गाइड करता है सबको। ठीक है, और क्योंकि उन्होंने एज आई नो मोस्ट ऑफ यू, ऑलमोस्ट एवरीवन नोज कि एज और लाइक जब हम यूज करते हैं तो उसको सिमिली कहते हैं, उस कंपैरिजन को सिमिली कहते हैं, राइट? देन नाउ नेक्स्ट वर्ड, holds a noisy, sprawling, and diverse democracy up and together. The phrase that becomes here is hold something up. That means उसे सही रखना. And hold something together. This is the other phrase that becomes hold something together. मतलब उसको एक बनाए रखना, उसको united रखना. Hold something up means to keep it existing, to keep it stable and sturdy, and hold something together is to keep it united, right? So they are holding a noisy, sprawling, and diverse democracy up and together. I hope you have understood the usage of these words and idioms and the figure of speech, but then you have one more work to do, right? Here. We found these words in the article. Now your job is to read on these. क्योंकि ये हम एक सेंटेंस में नहीं बोल सकते हैं. दूसरा, ये वाले words you'll get these words in your reading comprehension in the articles further also, and you will get these words in your constitution, in your legal reasoning, या कहीं पर भी जो भी आप law पढ़ोगे उसमें, right? So you should know what is secularism, so read about it. You should know what is federalism, to read about it. Say what it is nahi about it. And constitutional democracy, that too. So when you read, it's not about that you're making notes or you're writing down the meaning or thing. No. Only read so that you're able to get that into your system. Ke na hota kya hai ye sab. Right? So that's all for today. Yes, today you have a homework also, so you need to do that. So thank you for listening out. And we'll meet tomorrow for the next session. Thank you. Stay logical.